I'm doing a 63-kilometre transit from the mainland. You can just see the mountains of the mainland in the background there. And I'm heading out to the islands, and I've just got my first sight of the trees over the horizon. Normally you can see trees when you're down low in the water like I am here from about 6 miles away, so it means I'm getting pretty close. So I had a pretty good run over. It's going to be cold. I'm going to try without my wetsuit and see how I go. I've just made it in time for sunset. This whole lagoon's going to drop down and the boat's probably going to dry out tonight. But I managed to carry my stuff up to the campsite up here. And I'm going to have the luxury of setting up a tent tonight rather than a swag. No campfires here unfortunately because it's national park and you're only allowed to have gas. I've just done the quickest pack up in history to try and get off the tidal flats here before the tide gets down. It's going to be touch and go whether I can get out past the waves. A bit of PVC pipe, this is pretty handy for extending the tiller arm when you're in shallow water so you can stand up. Well, that was a fail. The tide's just too low. I don't want to just push on out there because I'll end up breaking coral, so I just pick a sandy patch. And I'll wait until I get stuck here for probably 5 hours. Got my windbreak up though. It'd be a lot worse without that. So really there's just nothing else I can do but wait. When anchoring around coral, a reef pick like this does less damage than a sand anchor.
Has been updated. Please check it on the map.
Home point has been updated. Please check it on the map. It's actually misbehaving a little bit there. It just descended for no reason. Like that. That's bad. It shouldn't do that. Sometimes when you initialize on a boat, it has an issue. I'm not happy with that at all. Waiting for the tide to come in, I'm just going to walk across the reef and jump in. Testing out the new little camera mount for my GoPro. I'm just going to take this for shark protection. I'll show you something else I do for that when I come back. It seems a little bit Rambo maybe, but there was someone taken and killed this year just on the next reef down that way. So it's better to be safe than sorry. Chilly. Yeah, so this spear is pretty useless for getting fish. It doesn't have a rubber or anything, but it's just useful to have something to ward off a shark if it is giving you a hard time. It's very unusual that they'll give you a hard time. I mean, I just went past one there, not worried at all. Just kept swimming along doing its thing. Being out here by myself, I've sort of got to mitigate the risks more than you would if you're with other people. So if I do get bitten by a shark, for example, I've already got a plan for what I'm going to do. That's if it, just not nicely takes off a hand or a leg or something like that. So I've got a tourniquet that I sort of made up that I can sort of put on one-handed around the limb. And that's just better than nothing. I'd rather be like fully prepped for it, because if something like that does happen, just that simple act of not being able to use one hand and apply anything, or having something in the first place to put on, is going to mean the difference between life and death. I'm going to jump in the boat and have a coffee. Thanks to my mate Peter for providing the fresh fruit out of his garden for this, and my sister as well gave me some lemons. I know what you're thinking, but it's not what you think it is. It's a sea cucumber, and you can eat them. It's been on my to-do list to eat one, but I can't collect them here because that's against the zoning as well. But the Indonesians love them. They dry them out. Whoa! So that's its defense mechanism there, sort of spewing its guts out. Anyway, I'm going to put this one back. Finally, we're over the reef. Only took 7 hours. How good's this? The taken sand spit in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Way off in the distance I can just see some mountains on the mainland. It's just stunning, and the wind's calmed right off. Beautiful. As I'm prancing around on this sand spit, a school of sharks starts to come up. They're mostly reef sharks, and they're just scavenging food as the tide comes in. Then I noticed a school of fish starting to form as well. I can see giant trevally underneath the drone, in amongst the sharks. So I'm just going to bung this on, cast the lure out straight underneath them. Being careful not to hit the drone. Oh, got him. Got a perfect little pan-sized trevally. That's going to be a dinner for one, a big dinner for one. Oh, got him! I got a big fish on here. I was actually planning on going a long way out and spending the night, but I still haven't seen what the seas are like at high tide when it's over the reef, and the next high tide after the one that's on now would have been at night. And it was a plan, but as I was getting closer I was just thinking, my gut feeling was I just shouldn't be doing it, because I haven't seen some bad conditions yet on this trip, and I'm not that familiar with how this area goes. So I'm actually was hightailing it back to the island for the night, so then I can observe the really dodgy conditions and then see if I reckon I can handle them in this boat, which isn't very big. I had the gut feel and thought, nah, I'm just going to bail. So anyway, so I'm coming back flat chat, and I just saw this bunch of birds and a couple of boils on the surface, and cast my popper out, bang! I'm gonna stop yabbering and get this thing in. Otherwise it's gonna be dark. That's not good, particularly if something goes wrong. Oh, beautiful. Oh! It's a good thing about the tuna species, you can grab by the tail. Oh, how good is that? Unfortunately, I can't get these hooks out, so he's gonna have to be a keeper. So it turns out I'm not alone on this island. There's a school group down the other end studying science, so I gave them the tuna and kept the smaller trevally for myself. Check out all these stingrays. Home sweet home. Oh, you'll be pleased to know I've got a better filleting knife, because all my other stuff's been in storage for like 5 years while I've been overseas. So that knife I was filleting the stingray with was blunt as. This one is so much better. I don't want to blunten it by going straight through these scales. It bluntens the knife less if you go up through the skin rather than down through the scales. So the easiest way to get the skin off is just to put your fingernails in the back of the fillet like that, and just run the knife along the skin when it's against the cutting board, and then you're left with a nice Oh, it came up a bit there, but that's pretty good. Nice flat section there. That's great for bait. I'll keep that for tomorrow. Alrighty, I am so hungry. It's been a long day today. Oh man, that tastes so good. Cooked just right. You want it just so there's no raw stuff. Any longer than that, it's making it worse. Oh, right home. This morning I'm doing a bit of minor maintenance to the tail of my spear. A bit of string like this just strengthens it. Finish this off really tidily, lay another bit of string over like that. Basically there's my little loop, I put that through the hole there, and then when I pull this, it pulls it back out underneath, and it's really nicely finished. There's a big ruddy coming right towards me, but it's an easy shot. I won't take it though, because I'll try and get myself another kind of fish for dinner tonight. That's a long life milkfish. Doesn't matter how you cook them, they still taste like shit. It was pretty windy again today, so I decided to just explore the island. So there's lots of holes around. I don't know what makes them. And when you see a hole like that that's shaped like coved at the top and flat at the bottom, it's usually a lizard because they dig like this. Whereas mammals dig round holes because they dig like this. I just haven't seen any mammal tracks. All I can see is little bird tracks. These are pandanus trees. They're great for making stuff. This is what I made my hat out of when I was in the Kimberley. There's some little fruits that they have, well actually a nut. These ones are out of season, but you can use a little knife to dig in and get the nuts, not very big. That black stuff looks like an oil slick. It's actually a school of tiny little fish. You can see the where those seagulls are. Just the black oil slick just gets out of the way whenever they go near it. There's a sea snake on the bottom here. Oh, he's a dead one. My engine was running a bit rough on the last trip and then cleared itself, and I was suspicious there was some stuff in there, but somehow it's crept in there. So I'm going to have to get rid of that, because that can get stuck in the little jets inside the engine, and you can lose all power or like 90% of the power. So it's impossible to get the last little bit out of fuel. So I'm just going to dig a hole, which I'm going to really seal later with a screw that I'll just steal from somewhere else that's not that important, like the floorboards. Tip out that hole there. Yuck, look at that. Brown, rusty water. Alright, I'm now going to use this screw to seal it up. And in future, I'll just use this as a tap. This is a remora, or a suckerfish, and they've got this cool thing on the back of their head that they use to stick onto the bottoms of sharks and scavenge. I felt a bit sorry for this one, so I fed his mates some egg scraps off the back of the boat. It's going to be a day of nasty weather. Looks like I'm going to be stuck here for a while, a few days at least. I really want to get off the island, but the weather's bad. If I get high enough, I can just get a weather report on my phone. As luck would have it though, the school group's leaving today and they're kindly letting me go home on their barge, and it's going to pick us up tonight. When you break down poles on dome tents, don't start at one end like this and go to the other, because that puts all the tension down one end of the elastic. Always start in the middle and then go halves again. It's not only quicker, but yeah, elastic lasts longer because of the even tension. So it's a bit dodgy trying to get up the back of this barge in the middle of the night, but managed it. Sort of feels a bit like landing a helicopter on the back of a ship at night. Anyway, so that's the end of this trip. If you're wondering why it's so noisy in the back of this voiceover, it's because I'm recording it in a tent in the caravan park, because I need somewhere to charge my batteries. Anyway, I'm about to head off on the next little trip, and I'll be uploading something else in another week or so. So just remember to subscribe if you like these, and hit the little notification bell so you know when the next video's up.